Welcome to Who You Know with Michael Sublett of Oddmost Pizza and Arthur Meeker of Extreme Graphics. We're shining the spotlight on businesses right here in the Pacific Northwest, celebrating their growth, their networking wins, and the impact they make in their communities. From small town gems to big community players, this is where connection meets inspiration.
Well, Dan Farrington, I've known you for a few years now, and I do a lot of networking stuff. You're involved in networking and things like that. But I've had a chance to have coffee with you and get to know you a little bit more. And you have a great story of the things that you've done and the things that you've are about, and your values are just really strong. And that's why I thought that you would be a really good host on our show, because I really admire everything that you stand for and that you do. So you want to start out a little bit? Tell us a little bit about you, like kids and family.
We have 6 children, all married. 3 are around the United States and 3 are in Oregon. And we have 7 granddaughters. And our first grandson's going to be born next month, so we're excited about that. My wife's a retired RN from Salem Health, and I work for a company called BBSI. They do payroll and HR and work comp for the small businesses. So I'm talking to small business owners every day about their business and how they're structured and the needs and the value that we could bring to them. Also, I'm finishing up my career as a coach. I've been a coach for 45 years, and I'm coach at a 1A basketball school called Livingston Adventist Academy, and I've been there 3 years, and our last game is Tuesday, and then I'm going to retire from coaching, which is a big deal for me, just to spend more time. My wife's been very good about letting me spend my evenings with other people's kids, so I've been doing that a long time. And then I do a few other things I'm sure we're going to get into of my other activities, but that's kind of the home life. We live in Sublimity. We just moved out there a year and a half ago from South Salem. We were in South Salem for 20 plus years, and we live out a little bit in the country now, so it's very nice.
Yeah, it's probably quiet.
Very quiet and safe. We live on a cul-de-sac. Our backyard faces farmland for you can see about 2.5 miles north, and it's just quiet and private, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's good. I love living out in the country too.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So go back before BBSI, and why did you get into BBSI?
Well, I was with a company that I started from scratch in 2002. I'll backtrack even further than that. In 1997, I got out of the restaurant business and got into medical consulting business. They do independent medical exams for the workers' comp. And a friend of mine's dad owned it, and he wanted to get out of it in 5 years, and said, hey, you work for me for 5 years, and I'll let you buy it. And 5 years, 2002, May 14th, 2002, I went to tell him I wanted to buy it, and he said, well, I sold it to somebody else, and they want you to be the boss. And I said, I kind of want to do my own thing. So I went and borrowed $30,000 from my dad and said, put it in the bank at Pioneer Trust here, and started my own business from scratch with 1 employee. And over 21 years of business, I had 18 employees. I was the #1 independent in IME company in the Oregon and Washington. Competed against all the big boys, the national contract companies, and I was our spokesperson for my 9 competitors at the Capitol. And so I spoke to state representatives, state senators about what I do for a living and why it's important to be in business, and then talking at the MLAC board. But I did that for 21 years, and when COVID hit, I had to stay open during that, and I had probably 23 offices at the time with my name on it, and business was basically cut in 1/8, I always say. And I couldn't recover, so I had to close my doors January 1st of 2023, and didn't know what I was going to do. It took me a whole month to clean everything out and get everything settled, and a friend of mine that I'm in his Bible study group with told my boss now, BBSI, that, hey, I know a guy you should talk to. And he called me up. He says, it takes us about 3 months to hire somebody, but can you go through the interview process? So I went through the interview process, about 4 interviews, and they hired me in 10 days, and I started March 20th with BBSI, and it's been a great blessing to be able to go into something I love to do, because I love business, and I like structure, and I like strategy. Being a coach, you love strategy and how to win, or how to do it right, and again, taking those all those things I've learned through businesses to be able to take it to somebody else and say, hey, here's my experience, and this is what I've done, and this may help you, and that type of thing. So
Yeah, that's I think one of the reasons why I align so well with you, because strategy and business, and I just love to learn about other businesses like you do, and see what we can do and switch hats and help them out. So that's really great. You mentioned the restaurant business. What kind of restaurant did you have?
well, it was a 50s diner. I moved to Salem in '93, and my best friend from college bought it out from his dad, called Rock and Rogers, and it had one restaurant on Broadway and Hood here in town, and the goal was to build more. And so I didn't know anything about the restaurant business at all. I mean, I can cook scrambled eggs and a piece of toast, but that's about my extent of my restaurant experience, because that was we had to cook for ourselves when we were kids. And so for the first 6 months, I kind of just watched. And then at 6 months' time, I said, all right, this is what we're going to do differently. And first thing we got feedback was that you got new owners. No, we're going to do a thing called customer service and treat people the way they'd like to be treated. And the business grew from 1 to 2 in that first year. And then the next year, we opened the one on Market. So we had the one on Broadway and Hood, one in South Commercial, the one on Market. I did that for about 4 years, and realized that with 6 kids and a lot of moving parts, and I was still coaching, so I started coaching in 1981, never quit until next week. So that's always been my love and my passion of I call relaxation. Some people look at it as work, but I don't look at it that way.
There's nothing like being in the middle of a bunch of young kids. That energy is just, it's amazing, and to be able to plant the seeds and watch them. Yeah.
Well, it makes you young too, right?
Yeah.
A lot of my players, when I tell them 65, they look at me like, we thought you were 50, So he said, you talk like you're young. Well, I don't know if I do that or not. My kids don't say that. My kids I coach say that.
Yeah, every once in a while I'll drop a new word that I hear on the street. My kids look at me, don't ever say that again, Dad. Don't ever say that again.
Right.
So
exactly.
What got you into the coaching part of it? Since '81, you've been coaching.
Yeah, Again, I was born and raised in Newport, Oregon. My dad owned a concrete business. My mom was a homemaker until we got in school, and then she helped out the schools. But I had 4 brothers, and I was number 4. And we all played football, basketball, and baseball at Newport High School, so everybody knew the Farrington boys. And my oldest brother went to Eastern Washington, was a coach. He played there, all 3 sports actually, in college at Eastern Washington back in the day. And he got a coaching job, and he was my idol that I wanted to be like. I wanted to help other people play the game, because I thought I always had good coaching to a certain point, but there were things I thought I could bring to the table of experience, right, and knowledge of the game, but also treat people a little better than I was treated as a coach, or from my coaching staff.
Right.
Because we all had those type of coaches back in the day that kind of challenged you beyond what they do nowadays. But so I went and was playing baseball 2 years at Southern Oregon, and then I transferred to Oregon to play there, and they cut the program that year. So I decided to go out to Sheldon High School, and they accepted me to be the assistant varsity coach there, and then found out that a guy named Larry Hansen, who ex-Duck baseball player, wanted to help out with the varsity. He said, well, Dan, you're going to be the JV coach. So here I am, 20 years old, at Sheldon High School, and I'm the head JV coach. So I got into it then to just love helping kids and develop kids. And over the years, you get a passion of seeing kids change. If you invest in them, teach them fundamentals, good boundaries, accountability, and compassion. So it's a balance of all that. If you can do all that with a kid, you can they'll run through walls for you, so to speak. And a great example is the team I have now out at Livingston. I have 7 players, and not a lot of athletic ability, but we've changed from the beginning to end, because parents always ask me, how do you get them to play like that? I said, well, it's accountability, expectations, teach the fundamentals, the basics, and play hard. It's 32 minutes, 8 minutes at a time. Can you play great for 8 minutes and see how it works? And that's the fun part.
Yeah.
We're 3 and 15. But they don't quit.
Yeah.
They go, why don't they quit? Well, because they understand that someone cares about them.
Yeah.
And people want accountability, and I think we don't teach that enough nowadays, that accountability piece.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
people want boundaries. People want to know what the expectation is. And if you don't have that, in business, as we know that,
Yeah.
if you don't have expectations, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
and that's part of leadership is that people aren't going to follow you if you don't give them the expectations.
Right.
And it sets them up for the failure part of it, because then you're let down because they're not doing the job right, or whatever they're tasked to do, because you didn't give them that expectation and the boundaries to do it. So very good point. And the really cool thing about a coach, and I hear this over and over from parents and adults, is that coach is better at guiding children and kids than their own parents, because sometimes there's just a totally different bond. And I hear that over and over. And for you to do it for so long just talks really big about what a great coach you are.
yeah, and I think a lot of it is educating the parents to let go and let the coach coach. Because we see that, I think we've seen that a lot through the early 2000s. And that was kind of when I was at South Salem, that was kind of our expectation is let the coaches coach, you cheer your kids on.
Yeah.
Let us coach.
Have you had any of the kids circle back around? Have you been able to
Great
kind of
question.
follow up with some of the other kids?
Oh,
And
yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, hey, coach, how you doing? You're like, because they all change the look. It's like, you never change at a certain age. And they
Right.
look at you and go, coach. You're like, all right, which kid is this?
Well, sometimes I have to ask them what their name is, but they
Yeah.
always say they see me coach and you're the same as you were before,
Yeah.
so to speak. But I have to backtrack. When I was 37, I gave my life to Christ and I became a Christian, and my life changed the way I coached after 37. Pre-37, I was a little bit more aggressive because I was mannerisms of my high school coaches. I really carried that on to my coaching, but I demanded in a way that was too aggressive, and I've learned to back off and do it in more of a relationship moments of coming alongside them, knowing that I love them, but I want them to work hard, and I have an expectation. So that balance I really had to work at after that, and it's helped. But a lot of those kids come up afterwards and say, wow, thank you for what you did for me, because you fought for me in certain situations. I have to tell one story. When my wife and I used to live in South Salem, we were walking, this car pulls up in front of us and stops, and he jumps out and runs over and shakes my hand. Dan, you remember when I was a dishwasher for you at Rockin' Rogers and how you taught me how to work, and I was 14 years old, and now I'm 22 and I've got my own bit. It was just like, that's the aha moment, why you do what you do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's several business leaders in town now that were my ex-players, and it's fun to see what they're doing. But, like right now, there's a kid at South that's a shortstop that's probably all-state shortstop for them, and he signed a D1 contract. I've known those kids for a long, long time, since they were 5 and 6, and just see the development over the years and see how they play.
Super rewarding.
Well, it's fun to see, hey, maybe I was a sliver of help to them in so many ways. So.
Yeah, and that's such a validation to who you are.
So.
Is to have that type of connection to these people that have grown up to be adults now, and they'll always remember Coach. That's
Right.
the thing. So you mentioned a little bit about giving yourself to Christ. So you're involved. You do a lot of other things besides coaching.
Yes.
Let's hear about that.
Well, yeah. So gave my life to Christ at 37, and I always tell people at 44, I finally gave Christ my coaching. All of it, so to speak, because sometimes in our walk with Christ, we don't give everything to Christ at that moment because we're learning about Him. But at 44, I gave completely to Him, and that just changed my relationship. But what happened when I was at Salem Heights Church, and I had a friend or one of the pastors come out and ask me to mentor at the UGM of Salem, and it was kind of hesitant at first, and I said, sure, let's try it. And that was 2017, and started walking with a young man that everybody thought would never change his life, and he just wanted to walk around town. So once a week we'd walk 45 minutes in town and talk about life. And he didn't want to hear about God. He just wanted to walk and wonder why they were trying to keep him in this little box and to have all these rules and all this time. And I said, hey, everybody has to go through this. And he goes, whatever you do, don't talk to me about God. And at 6 months, he gave his life to Christ. And UGM has what they call a New Life Fellowship program, and it's an 18 months program. So at the 6 month mark, he gave his life to Christ, totally changed our conversations. We still walked every week. And today he owns his own portion of Killer Bread delivery service, and he's married a lady from the Samaka House who graduated, and that's the same as the UGM program. And they're married. She works for the state, and they bought their first home in Sweet Home. I'm just like, that's so rewarding. But what it does is when you talk about Christ to other people, it changes the way you look at lots of different people and where their backgrounds are. That's where that potential, I always say, everyone has potential if we can see past the outside, because everybody has a heart inside. And so I do that. And then I became friends with the Be Bold Street Ministry group, who goes into homeless camps and help people get off addiction or get them into housing that's going to change their lives. That they're a different philosophy of just giving somebody a house and think they're going to change in that house. They're not. Be Bold is about getting them to the right housing that's going to help benefit them by getting them back to, if it's not the UGM, but also get them back on their feet to start working again. But again, they're addicted, or they don't have, they've been in this village, Willamette or Wallace Marine Park, where it's just loaded with homeless people. They're going into those camps and helping those people get out. A lot of people don't do that. It takes many years. Like one of the employees now for Be Bold they've been talking to for 10 years, and he was teaching everybody about the devil and all that. Finally, he came and asked to have his life changed, and it's been incredible to watch his transformation. But from going from dark to light and witnessing that's God working in them, and to witness that makes your faith so much stronger. And the other one was Valor Mentoring, which is through the rec here in Kaiser. They work with about 6th grade to 22, 24-year-olds. They're mentoring these young men to be leaders in their households, because they come from single parent housing. They didn't have a good male figure in their life, and they're teaching them how to be that male figure in a life if they get married. So you're trying to break that system off, so to speak, saying, hey, you need to be in charge of the family and what that responsibility is. And so I'm on that board too, so I see a lot of things. I just really think that as we get older and we look at retirement, or what are the things I'm going to do to help change people's lives, and that's kind of where I'm at right now in my life. Is that
what you're the most passionate about?
Yeah, I like the transformation. I think that when you witness that, they don't like me to use this in recovery, but it's addicting. It just makes you want to do more, and you see that, and so.
Is the Hope Dealer thing part of?
Yep. So Be Bold their logo is Hope Dealer.
Okay. Yeah.
So I help them with their fundraising.
Oh, okay.
And so I said that Hope Dealer's logo is what it's all about. I mean, let's put that logo on everything.
Yeah,
so
we've done a lot of vehicles for Extreme Graphics.
So we're doing an event the end of April at the Kaiser Convention Center, a luncheon, and because they're funding, they can't get grants because part of the grants, most of that are out there, you can't talk about Jesus Christ. He says, we're not taking any money. And Matthew, who's in charge of Be Bold, kind of started, one of the founders says, I turn away millions of dollars monthly, because I tell them I have to be able to talk like this. And they say, well, you can't if you take the money.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's fundraise a different way. And so anyway, it's very passionate about these people. And again, it's looking beyond the face, right? It's looking at this heart.
Yeah.
So.
Everybody, and the human element of it,
right,
is very important.
Right, and I think that goes with coaching. I think that goes with business. That goes everything. Are we able to motivate people to be the best they can in whatever environment they're in?
Yep.
And I mean, that's our ultimate goal, and to me, that's the firepower that I have inside me.
Yeah, just being kind goes a long ways, and that's really great.
Right.
So you've been with BBSI now 2 years?
It'll be 3 years in March.
3 years, okay.
Yeah.
And do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do with BBSI?
So they're what they call a PEO, so a professional employment organization, and they go into small businesses and help them with their payroll and HR are the key two components. So we're helping them do their quarterly taxes and W-2s and garnishments, anything with the feds, with FEIN numbers we do for them. And then we do their weekly or monthly, semi-monthly payroll. We do that for them, pay all their quarterly taxes like that. And then with that, you get all the HR that you would like, as far as your handbooks, job descriptions, conflicts with employees, firing employees, hiring employees, all that is under this umbrella of payroll and HR.
Which all is tricky stuff.
Yeah, and again, think about how much that's changed. When I started my business in 2002, I had the basic handbook, and nowadays it has to be loaded with lots of other components of it. Because when I work, and then this is my naive of growing up in Newport, I thought everybody was the same and everybody worked the same, and we were taught a certain way to work. So when I started running my own business, I realized no. So you have to be a coach, and you also have to be able to explain how things work, and that's what our HR component is. It's trying to get that in language that if someone reads the job description, they know that they need to show up at 7:45 to start working at 8. Not show up at 8 and then go to the bathroom, get coffee, and do all the other stuff.
Oh,
So, let's not get into this, but I'll think
that's going to be a big rabbit hole.
there's a,
But so
Then
what,
throw in the cell phone issue. with
right.
that. Yeah.
So again, those are things that need to be up front.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about that a lot. So we're self-insured. BBSI is self-insured. They've been that for a long, long time. Actually, they used to be one of my clients when I did IMEs. BBSI was. So workers' comp, when we run your payroll, we run your workers' comp at the same time, so we eliminate the audits. So our main competition is SAFE in Oregon, and of course in Washington it's L&I. And then we do medical benefits and 401k plans, and we have a staffing program, so we can help people hire
Very
employees.
rounded.
So it's nice to be able to go in and talk to all types of businesses. It's not just, it's mainly blue collar, but now we're starting to see the white collar start to come in to use it because of the accountability piece. And I think that's where, when COVID hit, everybody worked from home. Now, how do we get them back from their home back into the office? And then that's part of that strategy of how to do that.
Yeah, one of the things that really is cool about what you do is that you have that experience to back up what you're selling.
Right.
So you know what you're talking about. A lot of times people get into the position where they're selling or they're setting up accounts and stuff, but they never live that life and they don't know. And you as a previous business owner and with two different types of business, restaurant and medical, I mean, two different types of business, but you're able to understand the needs of your clients. That's really great.
I think that brings the value to the client, right? And it always goes back to when I graduated from college to be a teacher. I never taught a day in my life, like I said yesterday. But I worked for a company called Dutch Curl Ice Cream, and they hired me as a salesman. So I'm thinking I'm just going to start out in sales. So I get there, and they said, no, you're going to be in the freezer, so you know where all the ice cream is and what flavors we have and all that. And you're going to pull and fill pallets for the first 3 months. And then the next 3 months, I went over to where you made all the ice cream. So I learned how to make all the ice cream. And then the next 3 months, I went on routes to figure out how they were delivered and how they go into stores. At the 9th month, I was hired as basically started the sales job.
Yeah.
But now I could go in and tell them where it is in the warehouse. I could tell them how we make it and how we deliver it. Yeah. Now I'm a better salesman.
That's right. You know all the moving parts of the business.
Right.
And
I think there's a lot of value to that. And I think a lot of people nowadays get out of school, hey, I graduate to be a manager, and they go apply for all the manager's jobs, and they say, what experience do you have? Well, I graduated in it. I'm good at it. Well, what's your experience?
Yeah. So a similar story that goes along with that is in the network group that we belong to. One time we had a teacher from the small business part of one of the community colleges come and talk to us about small business issues. And he did an hour-and-a-half presentation, and he asked for questions. And he was a fairly young guy, and I literally waited till everybody got done and I asked him, have you ever owned a business? He goes, no, but I want to own one someday. And so he doesn't know those bumps and bruises.
Right.
And doesn't understand the mechanics. Because what you learn in books is not necessarily what's going to be like on the street.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't understand that. And that's why, with that experience and the story about working with the ice cream and stuff is really great.
Yeah, I think I think the experience coming in to be able to talk to businesses, and I think you're right. It
Yeah.
helps me get around a lot of windows
Yeah.
or doors type
Yeah.
things because I've owned one. I know how to talk. I know what they think, or at least kind of have an idea of the way they see things. And
Yeah.
so,
One of the cool things I learned well, actually, you told me over coffee, and I totally forgot about it until you talked about it yesterday, is tell them about your partnership program that you have.
oh yeah, our referral program.
Referral program,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's pretty cool that, it's BBSI has a program where we compensate for a soft email from a client that says, hey, or they're out working and they find somebody that probably needs the services of BBSI, and all they would have to do is a soft email to me, and in the introduction, we put that person that gave us the referral in our referral program. They would get a kickback every month for the life of that client if we get them on board. So they would get a percentage of our admin fee and our work comp fee reimbursed back to them monthly for the life of the client. So you could have a client that's with BBSI for 20 years and you're collecting every month. Every time they run payroll, you're getting a check for that amount. So
it comes to a great lead-in. So for our followers, what we could do is we can ask them to reach out to you from our podcast. Reach out. Our referral program for the podcast can help fund the growth of our podcast.
Sure.
And it can go into that fund. I think that would be a good one.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
no, I think it's all about relationships and how we can build it. And I always say, how can you make money without working hard?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, when I had my Sunrise Medical, I had all these offices that only used 3 times a month. But I had to have a location in all those cities. So I learned to rent out to other people those while they were empty, and then I was making cash to help pay for those lease payments back then. So it's it's nice having the referral component of it.
Yeah.
So.
I love a lot of what you say. I mean, I sit and it resonates with me because of the age group that I deal with too, and in the discipline versus the motivation, is the component you really get a lot of. People come out and if you motivate them, they're really good, but then you don't get the discipline behind it. And I think to build or to grow or to be successful, you need that discipline element and stuff. And so being a coach and things like that, you're creating that foundation. The guy that created the franchising system, Don Baroyan, he told me something that has always stuck with me, which is your lowest expectation will be their highest achievement. It's like when you take these kids in that have their certain level of achievement, you have to raise that bar and keep them. You got to hold them to that standard, and I think you really elevate how they think about themselves and what they're able to accomplish at that age. When you're coaching and all that, I think that is a pivotal piece that you can add to how they think, how they respond, all that kind of stuff. So it's funny how coaching probably really ties into a lot of what you do.
Yeah.
Even as adults.
Yeah, my dad always said, "What are you doing when no one's watching?"
Yeah.
And I think I give you an example. I was coaching freshman basketball at South Salem. We've been struggling in our practices, and one day I brought a video camera and put it at the end of the gym and turned it on and said, "Hey, we're videotaping our practice today because we're going to watch it tomorrow." So it was best practice we ever had. People were working hard and all that. And the next day, the kids came up and says, "Hey, Coach, are we going to watch that video?" I said, "Well, I never turned it on."
I love that. That's great.
And they would go like, "What?" I'm going like, okay, you have to think about if someone's actually watching how you play, it's amazing how much better you become. And this group that I coach out at Livingston, they don't watch TV, so they don't watch basketball on TV. They only know playing in the play yard. They don't know positioning. They don't know any of that. And this year, I finally said, "Let's watch us play," because they all think they do everything I say. So we watched that, and it was quite humbling to a few of those boys that see that. I guess I don't do that. So it's changed, and these kids have just gelled together. It's fun to see that change. But I think when you think about employees, always remember someone's watching you.
Always, yeah.
Because we tend to not do the work, so to speak, and that's the accountability, right?
Since you started coaching in '81 to current, what are some of the biggest shifts that you've seen in the kids and their attitudes and how they go about their daily life and stuff like that? Can you think of?
That's changed a lot.
Right.
I would say I think there's a certain group of kids, and I think sometimes we put them all together. There's a certain group of kids that really want to work hard at their craft and be great at it, and they'll put in the time, effort, and ask for correction. Example is a guy named Aaron Savala that I coached at South Salem High School. He was a catcher. He'd come in, only take 8 cuts. Every time he came in the batting cage, 8 cuts. Everybody else would take 15, 20. He says, Coach, I just want 8 good ones. That's a special player. Now he's playing for the Texas Rangers in their AA system. He was an All-American at Oregon and then went to Texas. But that was a kid that knew he had to work at it. Where the other kids, I had to say, get in the cage. 8. So I used his philosophy. 8 cuts, let's make them great cuts and be focused, right? And be disciplined. No lazy. When we're taking a swing, we're going to take a swing that it's game speed and that fundamental of it. And I think nowadays we see kids that just kind of go through the motions, and they think they're working hard, but they're not. And I think I'm not going to throw all the parents under the bus, but there's a lot of parents that coddle their kids and don't have high expectations for them. They just want to get through the day. Whereas if you have expectations, accountability, loving, all that combined, I see those kids really grow. But I see a lot of kids that are too coddled about what's happening.
Right.
I mean, example, last night I had one parent say, hey, we played 8 games in a row. And I said, I know, look how better we are. But they couldn't see that moment. They were looking at, they got to be tired. I said, they're 15 to 18-year-olds. They got more energy than anybody I know.
Like you may be tired.
I said,
calling them back and forth.
I'm excited to be here, and I'm 65.
Yeah.
They're 15 to 18. They have it. It's you saying, hey, look what you did tonight and how great you played. So talk about build up versus giving them excuse. So I think that's what we see in a lot of our society. Maybe that might get me in trouble, but I tell people that you have to have an expectation. We have 6 kids. I mean, all of them are hard workers.
Do you see kids are more, feel like they're more entitled now? Do you see that a lot?
I see that in the workplace. Like, here I am. I'm here to work.
Yeah.
And versus, hey, what are we going to do today? How are we going to be great today?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't hear that.
Yeah.
You hear, okay, what do I got to do today?
And how much are you going to pay me?
Yeah, and so the entitlement, everybody, they feel like you owe them. Yeah. You owe them because they showed up.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, how can I make a difference in this company today so I can be better? So I try to tell people, when you go to work, you're working for everybody around you to see how hard you are working. Because I tell people, I never had to interview for a job ever. People saw my work ethic and how I communicated and how I dealt with other people. Be that type of person that people say, man, like you go into a restaurant now, you see the one waitress is awesome. She's doing all the work, bussing tables, working out. That's a great employee. That's the problem with working in restaurants. You see everything.
Oh, yeah.
I walk in, my family's like, what are you watching? Well, I'm just seeing how it flows in the restaurant.
The mechanics. I love the mechanics of it. One of the training things I used to do with some of the management teams, I'd have them go sit at the seat at McDonald's and said, watch them, watch every employee.
Yeah.
And then I have them go there, and then I have them go to another place. I could listen, pick out the manager, the assistant manager, who wants to move up in the company, who doesn't give a crap, all that kind of stuff. And if you get them to kind of start visualizing what they see and they can kind of start putting it together, helps them then manage the crews that they have and how they need to go and stuff. So I think it's really important to put them in positions that they can understand what you're trying to say too, not just what you're trying to say, to give them that little bit of experience where they can go in their own time with nobody, and start seeing what you're talking about versus just responding to what you have to say.
You're right. I mean, but we have to look at our schools. What are we teaching?
Yeah.
I mean, are we teaching them how to read and write by 4th grade? Are we having discipline and accountability? It's gone. So why do we have all the problems? Exactly that.
Yeah.
I mean, if we restructure, I know Salem Kaiser, can I talk about Salem Kaiser for a minute? So Salem Kaiser, they're losing all these people to private schools or home schools, and they don't have the funding because they don't have the numbers of kids in their school. Well, first thing you do is change what you're teaching, accountability at school, hey, it's okay if they need to be disciplined, they're going to need to be disciplined, not coddled, and have a plan to. Everybody's going to read by fourth grade. How are you going to do that? Let's set up a plan. And then if someone, goes and trashes the bathroom, guess what? He's paying for it. He's not at school. I mean, and I don't want to say guy. It could be a girl too.
Yeah.
But you got to backtrack. What are you teaching there, and how is it coming across to the kids? I mean, it's not like it. Kids want accountability and don't want boundaries. And if we're not going to establish that in our schools, that's what we're going to get coming out, and that's our job market, right?
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to group all of our kids together because there's certain kids, their parents are disciplined enough that they have those boundaries before they go to school. But there's a lot of kids that they think it's glorified child care.
Yeah, I feel for teachers nowadays. I hear a lot of retired teachers that say, I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I couldn't. It's just I was counting the days because it's just changed. I think what's hard is, when I grew up, it was something happened in school. You were looking at the kid going, what did you do wrong? And now they're looking at teachers going, well, what did you do? Why is, you can't tell me my kid's wrong kind of thing.
Right.
And I think there's a little bit of that difference. And I think there's a lot of teachers they can't teach anymore, in my opinion. I think they're managing students basically. They're not really teaching anything.
Well, because they don't have the backing.
Yeah, and that's the.
I mean, and where's that at? That's behind it. That's the leadership. That's administration.
And I really think if you get into teaching, I mean, you have to have some passion for it. You have to. So I think that it's there.
Right.
But you're right. I don't think they got what's behind them, what they need, the support.
Right. And the tough part is that's their career. That's what they went to college for. They want to help other kids. But, when the administration is telling you have to teach this way and you can't do this, I remember in 8th grade, our PE teacher had a paddle with a bunch of holes in it and hung it on the wall. And you had to walk by it every day. And you're like, I'm not going there. And there was a few guys that kind of tempt him, and he was an ex-gymnast. He was about 5'6", but he was built, and he could whack you. And so I tell you what, we saluted a lot, and we did exactly what was told. But that's changed. Yeah. Because
I remember those. I grew up in those days. And I think the principal's paddle had my name written on it or something like that. And and nowadays, if a child was to come home and say that they got paddled at school,
school suit.
Yeah, the school is done with, and then the school, the kid is the victim. And that's not teaching them anything. Right. And so, I learned to respect the hard way like that. And but for me, I got a double whammy because I not only got spanking from paddling from the principal, but when they called my parents to let them know that happened, I got it from my dad too.
Sure.
And so it was always it was hardcore.
It was exactly right. And nowadays that's totally off limits. But if you don't feel good today, you get to go into a special room. I mean. That, again, we have to work on our mental toughness of kids, and that's built over years. And it's changed a lot. That's the way we raise our kids. Our kids have done very well, and we see it a little bit in our grandkids, that softening. But, I pick up my granddaughter every Thursday and Friday to take her to Turner. She's in kindergarten at Turner Elementary. And when I first came, she would kind of lay around. And I said, now when I come, she's dressed. And she says, Papa, I'm having this for breakfast. So I make her breakfast, and my daughter's getting ready. And my wife comes and gets the younger one because she's in preschool. But, accountability, structure, love. Yep. She loves to give me hugs, but she knows that Papa's coming, and we're going to get dressed, and we're going to eat, and we're going to school. So if we have that accountability, I think it can happen. But you have to teach it, right?
Yep. There's a lot of changes that need to be done.
I don't think people give kids enough credit either. I think that's the thing that bothers me the most is, they just want to kind of, do that coddling or that whatever like that. But I'm like, why are you doing that injustice to a kid? I mean, really, you should push them and really give them the opportunity to prove to themselves that their value and their worth and their, it creates some ambition. I think what's really missing in kids nowadays is ambition. We talk about a lot of different things when it comes to kids and how they are and why and all that stuff. But I think the thing that's been weeded out is ambition. I think it's all functional. It's all, all that stuff. And even with kids in sports, their parents take them there. They do all these different things for sports. And it's what they want to do. And so it's hard as even ambition is lost in that.
Sure.
Because all of that stuff is what they want to do, and that discipline is when you don't want to do something, and then I think that's what creates that successful person, is to understand both sides of that equation. And so I think the sports is a fantastic way to introduce one side of that equation to them, but you also have to follow that up with the other side, and I think a lot of that is lost, I think. And it's tough because, I mean, I see kids and I look at them and go, dude, I don't think you have any idea what you can accomplish. And there's not a lot of that,
And that's the balance piece, right? You got to have a balance of everything.
Well, it's kind of interesting in school nowadays is it's no child left behind.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what their grades are, what their attendance is, or anything like that. They still get passed on. I don't remember ever hearing in the modern school days of a kid failing a grade.
Every kid is different, and getting help. I remember back in 8th grade, I had to go into, actually back then it was in a closet with a lady working on my vowel sounds because I could not pronounce my words very well.
Yeah.
And I was going like, where am I going? And it was a guy in my class named Max Jones. It was his mom doing it. So I said, I'm going to see Max's mom. So I'd do the just working on how to talk. Well, now 2 of my granddaughters are having to do the same thing at 3 and 5. I'm going like, that makes more sense than 8th grade. It takes time, come alongside your kids and love them. I think look at the positive, and I think that's kind of what you're saying, is look at the positive of that, because a lot of times we can look at the negative very easy.
Yes, absolutely.
And if we don't look at what's the outcome down the road, I think that's where everybody gets distracted, because I say, how is this going to affect us 5 years from now?
Right.
We're not worried about today. It'll take care of itself. How's this going to change 5 years ago? In 5 years coming down.
Now that you're not going to be coaching, but you still have a ton of other things going on.
Oh, you heard about my new thing?
No, let's hear about this. Oh, you just opened that book.
So 2 weeks ago, a guy named Ed Deal calls me up and Ed tells me that said, Dan, are you ready to run for state representative in our district? And I go like, why, Ed? What are you doing? He goes, well, him and his wife decided he's going to run for governor. So I've talked to a few people, and I announced this week, Monday, that I was going to run for state representative in House District 17, which is the Canyon, which is Turner, Almsville, State and Sublimity, Lions Gates, Detroit.
Be your backyard.
Who's that representative now?
Ed Deal.
Oh, Ed Deal. Okay.
So
okay.
when he's done
he's kind of endorsing you.
when he's done, he's not endorsed me because he's running in the primary, but he is running. He's in the House. He's going to do the short term, and then once he's done, he can full tilt to governorship. So that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Well.
So that's a whole nother. Everybody goes, I thought you were going to retire. No, well, this is what I've always wanted to do. I've ran a couple other times, but I lived in the wrong district for what I'm running for. But this time it feels like a good move, and we'll see what happens.
It's amazing. I was, in my mind, before you announced that, I was thinking you should write a book, because you have a lot to say to people and tell people from your experience in the coaching and your religious part of it, and I think you have a really good story to tell that I think can inspire other people.
Thank you.
Because I think that would be a really good. Think about it. I'm planting that seed.
Okay, thank you. I know we're trying to get my wife to do that, because she was a missionary kid and going through all she went through to where she's at.
You guys can do it together, and then bundle it and sell it together. No, you can do it together, but right now is easier to write a book than ever. So it's really easy to put a
Why
book
is it
together.
easier?
Because you can make verbal notes now, and you can use AI and you can talk to it, and you can record it, and then once you send it off to the book companies, they take it from there.
Okay.
So it's a lot easier now to ever do a book. But I think that would be good. It's time to get to our rapid fire questions, and Mike's going to lead it up.
Uh-oh.
All right, here's to me. Here we go.
So
Buckle up. I guarantee they'll be random, because they're random to me too.
coffee or tea?
Coffee.
What's your favorite number?
12.
Chevy or Ford?
Ford.
Who's winning the Super Bowl?
Patriots.
Wrong answer. Wrong answer.
Coming from the man that's dressed like a Seahawks fan, but that's
Hey,
There you go.
it's Thursday. It's pregame.
Thursday.
We're making everybody a little excited, right? And then I'll turn them all down on Sunday.
So would you rather do a mountain getaway or a beach vacation?
Mountain, because I grew up on the beach.
Yeah, Newport.
Who is the one person that influenced you? You influenced so many people, but who's the one that influenced you the most?
Well, my baseball coach in high school was a guy named John Voorhees, and he was a guy that could throw right-handed and left-handed at me pitching. He was ambidextrous, so he, through batting practice, at all right-handed, then we all batted left-handed. And I just always admired him for being able to do what he did.
If you could be a superhero, who would it be?
I'm not big into superheroes, as my kids know that.
Okay.
But probably Batman.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah. And your favorite movie?
Rudy.
Rudy. What about book? What's your favorite book?
Well, I'm not a book reader, but I did like Phil Jackson's book on his story and how he influenced those Chicago Bulls to play the way they did.
The Zen Master.
Just, you know the story. What he would do is when they go on road trips, he picked out a book for every player to read on the trip, and it was specific to them and what they needed to work on.
God, that would be an interesting book for Rodman.
Well, Horace Grant said he was so excited to see what book on the road trips, because he'd go like, "What? I wonder what book I'm going to get this time."
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was very clever of that. The other one is Clyde Drexler. I read more of the sports stuff, but
Do you have a mentor?
God.
Yeah.
I mean, I read the Bible every morning, and I'm in 2 Bible studies on Tuesday, 1 on Thursday, 1 on Friday, and go to church on Sunday. And
Do you have a favorite?
Bible verse?
Yes.
Well, I say a lot to myself, just trust in the Lord.
Yeah.
I don't know what verse that is, but I think when we give our whole lives to Christ, things run a lot smoother. Especially at night when I try to relax and go to bed, I try to think that, and it just soothes my mind. So, again, sometimes we don't talk to him enough, so
Yeah.
that helps me mentally.
Friends, is it because you've been an entrepreneur most of your life? Sounds like it's really hard to shut that mind and switch gears, to slow down sometimes,
Right,
to
and
sleep.
breathe, breathe,
Yeah,
right?
it's just part of it. Just becomes part of you,
Yeah.
and so I understand that.
I think that's what everybody says about, because getting that age of retirement. I tell people my dad died at 79 of prostate cancer, and I always tell people I got 14 years left of life. What am I going to do in that 14 years to make a difference in people's lives? But am I going to have the energy to do that?
So when you coached, do you get loud in the games or loud in practices? Or are you really a calm coach?
Pre-37, I was very loud,
yeah.
extreme, and post is depending on my team.
Yeah.
The team I have now, I have to talk them through a lot of things, so my voice has to carry.
Yeah.
But I like it when I don't have to, because they know the way I think. And I've had teams like that where I don't have to say much. But when they come to sidelines, I remind them. So to say your answer, yes, with this team, but in baseball, I tend to talk about situations, and I have to yell to get across to a diamond, so to speak, so my voice is.
Yeah, because when it comes to kids, it's like some people, they all respond differently, and you really have to kind of get to know your
Certain
team.
people are going to want you to say things and know where to go, and some people need direction, right?
Yeah, it'd be different, Coach, right now, and the personalities out there with kids that are coming up today. I think it would be pretty different than 20 years ago.
Right. And the problem with me is I was able to run and play until I was 55 or so. In the last 9 years, I couldn't do. I could show everybody all the skills, and now I can't. So that's hard, but I can still shoot. So we work on shooting a lot, and they're shocked that I can still make baskets that they can make.
Yeah.
But I always tell them there was no 3-point line when I was playing. And if I shot out there, I'd be on the bench.
Oh, now that's the game. Thank you, Curry.
Yeah. So now you watch it and go like, yeah, I would have been benched if I shot from out there.
Dan, it's been really great. I'm glad that you came on the show. Ever since the first time I met you, I just think that you're really a stand-up guy, and that you are a person that really has high values, and giving back to the community is amazing. That's something that everybody should do more of to build up our communities, make our communities better for everybody. But that's why I admire you for everything
thank
that
you.
you do, and it's never a dull moment when I hear you talk, because this is 2 days in a row that I've had a conversation with you. I've listened to you talk about what you do and what you stand for, so I really appreciate
you.
you coming on the show.
I appreciate
Really
that.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me on. Good
Yeah.
to meet you. And
Yeah.
you know, I think we all change. And being a Christian, it's changed my life, and that's why I'm where I'm at. It's all because of him. So
Yeah.
that's the way I look at it.
It's awesome. It's amazing.
So
Well, thank you very much.
thank you.